Anger doesn't always come with yelling. Sometimes it's the quietest thing in the room. It sits in your chest, heavy, unmoving, pretending to be peace. And I wonder how many of us are walking around thinking we're calm when we're really just angry in silence. It's wild to me that we're already here, episode 7, halfway through season 1 of Purpose, Not Pity. 7 episodes of peeling back layers I never thought I'd say out loud. Time keeps flying, but pain doesn't follow a calendar. It lingers, it shapeshifts, and sometimes it hides behind the one emotion nobody ever wants to admit they feel: anger. You're listening to Purpose, Not Pity, a space for stories that hurt, heal, and remind you that you're not alone. I'm Erika Hernandez, storyteller, bonus mom, grieving mother, healing human. This isn't a podcast about having it all figured out. It's about showing up in the middle of the mess, rebuilding piece by piece, and choosing purpose, not pity. Whether you're deep in your own grief, trying to find your voice again, or just searching for a little light in the dark, this space is for you. Let's talk about it, all of it. When people picture anger after loss, they imagine rage, breaking things, screaming, losing control. But real anger, the kind that comes after your life explodes, it doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's polite, sometimes it's so still you don't even recognize it for what it is. For a long time, I thought anger meant chaos. But mine showed up in silence. It showed up in the way I couldn't sleep, in the way I stopped answering calls, in how I'd sit in a room surrounded by people and still feel like I was somewhere else entirely. I didn't even call it anger back then. I called it exhaustion. But it was anger, hidden in plain sight. And I think part of why it was so quiet is because I didn't feel like I was allowed to be angry. How do you admit you're mad at God? How do you say, I'm furious with you, when you grew up being told He's love and mercy and purpose? How do you question what everyone around you keeps telling you to accept? I was angry at God, angry that He chose restraint instead of intervention, angry that He allowed me to live a story I never would have written for myself. And still, I prayed, because anger and faith are strange roommates. They argue, they slam doors, but they still share the same space. I was angry at myself too, for the what ifs, the could haves, the didn't see it's. I replayed that night like a broken record. Every word, every silence. Jovan told me he wasn't feeling well. He said he was tired and going to call it a night. And I believed him. When I made my last rounds, his door was closed. He never closed his door when he was out, so I assumed he was asleep. And I went to bed thinking my son was safe under the same roof. But he wasn't. He left, and I never saw him alive again. That's the kind of anger no one warns you about, the one that mixes guilt with heartbreak until you can't tell them apart. I was angry at him for leaving, angry he said he was staying in, angry that he closed the door, angry that he killed the version of life I imagined having with him in it. The birthdays, the milestones, the growing old. And then came the shame for even feeling that way. Because how could I, a mother, be angry at her child who's gone? But I was. And pretending I wasn't didn't make it disappear. It just buried it deeper. Until this day, I have not felt anger towards the person charged for killing my son. Not even when I sat in that courtroom at the bail hearing, looking straight at his face. No remorse, no regret, just emptiness. And somehow, I still couldn't hate him. It confused me at first. How can you not hate the person who changed your life forever? But the truth is, I looked at him and saw absence. He never had what my son had. He never had unconditional love, guidance, or someone teaching him empathy. He didn't grow up with the same compass my children had. And maybe that's why I couldn't give my anger to him, because I realized he'd already been living without the things that made my son whole. You can't hate someone who's never known what love feels like. You just pity the emptiness that built them. So my anger turned inward. It settled in my body like dust that wouldn't move. It came out through isolation, canceled plans, unanswered texts, long silences that disguised as needing space. And while everyone thought I was being strong, I was actually drowning in a silence that was screaming inside of me. The justice system didn't help. Calendar call hearing after calendar call hearing, delay after delay. Each date felt like a promise that never kept itself. And for a whole year, I was angry at all of it. The system, the waiting, time itself. Because every time the court postponed something, it felt like they were postponing my healing too. I stopped taking my PTOs, vacation time, stopped making plans, and postponed starting to live again. I didn't want to be too far in case the call came. And that's when I realized I wasn't just waiting for justice. I was waiting for permission to breathe again. But then came the day the judge said, bail denied. And I gasped. I thought it was relief, knowing that the man wasn't walking free. But it wasn't relief. It was release. It was the first time in a year my body exhaled. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't just angry at the system. I was angry that my life had stopped, and I allowed it. Angry I had built my existence around waiting for a moment that couldn't fix what was broken. Anger changes you. It changes how you see people, how you talk, how you move through the world. And it messes with your body too. My alopecia got worse. My skin flared up. The pain in my joints came back. Because anger just doesn't live in your head. It lives in your body. It eats at you from the inside out until you either face it or let it consume you. I've learned that you can't heal while you're angry. You can't find peace while holding something that heavy. And yet, you also can't skip over anger to get to healing. You have to walk through it. You have to let it burn, cry through it, scream through it. Because pretending you're okay is a slower kind of dying. So one day, I let it all out. I screamed, I cursed, I said things to God and to Jovan I never thought I would dare say. And when I was done, I sat in the quiet and realized something. The anger wasn't leaving me. I was finally leaving it. Now I don't really get angry anymore. Not like that. Not the kind that steals your breath or changes your voice. I protect my peace at all cost. It's sacred to me. I don't argue. I don't chase closure. I don't beg for understanding. If it costs me peace, it costs too much. And if you're listening right now, angry at someone, angry at life, angry at yourself, listen to me. You're allowed to feel it. You're allowed to scream, to cry, to question, to rage. But don't stay there. Because anger isn't home. It's just a hallway you walk through to get somewhere softer. Let it out in whatever way it feels right. Lock yourself in a room and yell. Write it out. Talk to God. Throw the pillow. Just don't keep it inside. Because anger unspoken becomes illness, and peace unprotected becomes pain. Anger doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like someone who seems fine, but is barely hanging on. But it doesn't have to look like that forever. You can release it. You can still build a life around peace, even if you have to crawl your way there. You can still love again, trust again, breathe again. Because if anger is what taught me how deep pain can go, peace is what taught me that I'm still capable of joy. And that's the balance I'm holding now. Not pity, not perfection, just purpose. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and holding space with me today. If something in this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it, or just let it sit with you. That's enough. You can follow along on TikTok and Instagram at by Erika Hernandez for more stories, updates, and little pieces of healing in real time. And remember, this journey isn't about perfection, it's about presence. I'll see you next time, and until then, keep choosing purpose over pity.